Hi everyone, welcome to UTP Exchange, where ideas converge. I'm Sarin Risham, and today with me I have UTP's Vice President of Strategy, Sustainability and Transformation, Encik Imran Kadir. Welcome Imran, how
Thank
are
you.
you?
Very good, thanks.
Okay Imran, today's topic will be talking about fifth generation universities. So maybe as an introduction, what do we mean by fifth generation universities?
Great question, and thank you for having me on the show. And when people hear about fifth generation universities, it's easy to think it's a label or management consulting concept. But actually, it's framing what the evolution of universities are, where they are now, and where they are in the future. A bit of background. A lot of research has been done on university evolution. And then a book by two distinct experts in this field, Scott and Olmec, on university industry partnerships. They talk about how the first generation university was about teaching, knowledge. Second generation about research. Third generation commercialization. Fourth generation partnerships. And fifth generation multi-sectoral partnerships. And I'm summarizing it quickly. There's a lot more depth to those generations, but I think it's important to understand the impact the university has at different generations is what's key. And the fifth generation university can have the greatest impact on society.
Okay. So what problems do you think fifth generation universities are trying to solve?
I think what's important to realize that universities could be considered by some to be hidden monoliths, a term that I found interesting. Full of powerful assets, talent, knowledge, facilities, credibility. But much of that value remains underground and invisible to society. In some cases, universities could be considered museums of procrastination, places where brilliant ideas exist, but never quite translate into real world impact. And I think that's what everyone's calling for now and really need help on. Because the problems that exist in society today are just so critical to be addressed. Climate transition, energy security, digital trust, and they cannot be solved through isolated projects or single disciplines. They require coordinated action across industry, government, and communities. And the university has a central role to make that happen.
Okay. But are you saying that research alone is not enough to become fifth generation? Because I'm sure a lot of universities now have heavily invested in research.
Right.
So what would make them different to become a fifth generation university?
Right. Innovation is still important, no doubt. Startups, technology transfer, commercialization, all of that matters. But underground, I think many of us have experienced this. A brilliant project emerges in a lab. A startup can be formed, some funding is secured, and then the impact stops there. We don't hear about it anymore. We don't hear about that global positive change happening because of that work. The knowledge doesn't flow back into teaching. The lessons don't reshape policy. The social implications aren't discussed. So we get these pockets of excellence rather than a system level change. And a fifth generation university is about closing that gap, making sure innovation reshapes how we teach, how we research, how we engage with society, not just how we generate revenue.
So one way to describe the shift is from producing knowledge to cultivating judgment. Does that resonate with how universities now need to operate?
Knowledge is still the foundation, but knowledge alone no longer prepares people for the real world because most of the critical decisions today are made with incomplete information, conflicting objectives, and long-term consequences that nobody can fully predict. We're not really sure where AI is going to be in 1 year, 5 year, 10 years time. The ramifications could be very profound. Universities now must help people develop judgment, the ability to weigh evidence, values, risks, and consequences at the same time.
Okay, let's have a look at it from a student's lens. If I were to enroll as a student into a university, into a fifth generation university,
Sure.
what would be the difference that a student, I as a student, would like to see or can see?
Yeah. Great question. I think we are all lifelong learners, and a university is one avenue to have a structured approach to it. But for even undergraduate or foundational students, it's important that when they enter a fifth generation university, that they feel that learning becomes less about absorbing content and more about engaging with reality, if I can say that.
Yeah.
Students are exposed to real world constraints, technical, financial, environmental, social, not just the ideal conditions in the classroom, that university bubble you may have heard about and I think we can relate to. Ambiguity becomes part of the learning process. You're not always told what the right answer is. The esteemed lecturers and professors are facilitators rather than sages on stage. Because in many cases, there is no one right answer, especially in a multi-dimensional, complex, complicated world we're living in now. And my hope and the hope of the university is that graduates become problem solvers and system thinkers, not just subject specialists. That's what they would feel, yeah.
What does it require from faculty and staff?
Yeah. Real world problems don't respect departmental boundaries. Many of our faculty and staff, not just in our university, but in many universities worldwide, have realized that they are more than just lecturers or disseminators of knowledge. They are actually instigators and facilitators of learning and teaching. And connecting our academics to industry, research to policy, and students to real-world challenges is the key of a strong fifth-generation university. And these roles did not exist 20 years ago, really. But right now, they are central to making a societal impact.
Okay, if we were to look at from, say, a different angle, governments or regulators, what role would they play in assisting universities to become fifth-generation universities?
No, for sure. The role of regulators, authorities are setting the direction and blueprint the nation needs or the region needs that will contribute to global sustainable development goals, for example. I think they have a very important role to be clear on what the government or the policymakers are thinking is needed for the next generation workforce, but also the next generation of learners who are going to be part of a very intricate world.
I am a philanthropist. Should I be giving more money or funding to a fourth-generation university that intends to become a fifth generation so that it reaches its objective or goals earlier?
You definitely have a very generous heart, Saran. And yes, I think funders should be very deliberate in where they contribute their funds or their time and resources. And the fourth generation and fifth generation universities would be the most impactful research and breakthroughs that can happen. And supporting those universities in addressing society's most challenging questions, and even better, working together and collaborating, because fourth generation, fifth generation is building that multi-sector relationships between different industries, different organizations. And I feel that investment will yield the greatest return, not just in terms of ROI or investment, but return in impact back to society. So yes, I really do feel funders should think about to what type of university they want to support and contribute to. And fourth generation, fifth generation universities, I think, have the greatest impact in the world today.
So, as the Vice President of Strategy, Sustainability and Transformation, your portfolio brings together these three elements, right? Often treated separately. Why must they move together?
Yeah, great question. This role that I am now in supporting the university is key not just from a strategic and sustainable and transformation perspective, but as a system as a whole. And what I mean by that is, if you separate them, you will get fragmented initiatives. But the world doesn't operate in silos, because we know and we understand very distinctly that being industry linked, strategy cannot be abstract. Sustainability can't be symbolic. And transformation cannot be occasional. They must operate as one system. So that's why we have an SST division here at UTP.
Okay, jumping back to why UTP was originally founded. Okay, I think you may have heard that UTP was created by the industry for the industry. How does the fifth generation university reshape this relationship?
Yes. This is where the difference becomes really tangible, in my view. In a fifth generation university, the relationship with industry is no longer just about projects or funding. It's about building long-term capabilities for society. For example, instead of just running a research project on energy systems, for example, the university must bring together not just the engineers, but the economists, the policymakers, the communities affected, to jointly explore how we can transition to a cleaner energy world. Not just technically, but economically and socially as well. Or as another example, instead of simply offering internships, like many universities, including UTP does, we feel it's important that students should be working on real industrial problems where the solution has consequences for sustainability, safety, or public trust. And they are asked to justify their decisions, not just deliver a project. And as a role that UTP has in society today, the university might act as a neutral convener, hosting difficult conversations between industry, regulators, and civil society on topics such as digital ethics, climate risk, workforce transitions, where there is no obvious win-win answer. So the university becomes a living lab for society, a trusted advisor for decision-making, and a bridge between knowledge and action.
So you as what I can gather from what you said is there would still be that relationship between industry and the university.
Oh, it must be even more intertwined and more long-term driven for society impact than ever before, yes.
Okay, you mentioned long-term impact. So say 10 years from now, how will we know if a university has truly become a fifth generation university?
Yes.
What are the markers or what are the indicators that would show us that a university has become a fifth generation university?
Yeah, it's important to be clear on picture of success of what we want in the future. And success is when graduates navigate complexity confidently. I talked about justifying their analysis and their decisions that they've made. When research informs real decisions, when the research output from UTP or any university starts influencing the conversation about that issue, and when society trusts the university as a credible partner, that's a true sign of a fifth generation university. Success is measured by capacity built, not just outputs produced. I think that's a clear sign.
So are you saying the indicator should be an outside-in looking one? That means how society, industries assess that university rather than a inside-out. Not the university saying, oh, I'm a fifth generation university now, but more how external stakeholders
Yeah.
assess it.
That's the real validation, though, right? When you have partners, investors, individuals who are passionate about solving problems join us and work together to find the solutions that can benefit the whole of society. I think that's when we've truly made it to be a fifth generation university.
Okay.
And of course, there's going to be other metrics and measures, but that understanding and that credibility is built when we get those type of results.
Yep. Yeah, I was just going to say, how would we know maybe there would be a sixth generation or seventh generation university in the future?
Yeah,
And
I-
perhaps the goalpost would change there.
sure. I think this evolution of the role of the university is going to change quite profoundly over the next 10, 25, 50 years. And because it's the purpose of a university itself needs to adapt and contribute more strongly to society than ever before due to all the challenges that we are facing. Yeah.
On a personal level, Imran, what do you find most challenging intellectually about this transformation for UTP to become a fifth generation university?
Sure. I think it's about being comfortable with ambiguity and uncertainty. Because leadership today is less about having the right answer. It's more about asking the right questions and deciding even when the picture is incomplete. That's the real intellectual challenge of what we're trying to do at UTP and the transformation happening now. But if there's one call to action I would like to leave our audience here today is this. Don't wait for the university to change before you act differently inside it. For example, if you're a lecturer, think about how your course connects to real problems beyond your discipline. If you're a researcher, think about how your work can actually lead to decisions that will advance your technology, your knowledge, your breakthrough. If you're a management team, think about how our roles connect people, not just processes. Because at the end of the day, people is what's going to make change happen. And for a student thinking about what impact it will have on them, ask not just what do I need to know, but what kind of problems do I want to help solve once I finish my university experience? Because at the end of the day, Siren, a fifth generation university is not built by a strategy document. It's built by everyday choices. How we teach, how we collaborate, how we frame problems, and how willing are we to step outside our silos.
So is it fair for me to say that to become a fifth generation university, it's not so much about the progress that university makes, but about how it carries its responsibility to society and to the world, I would say.
For sure. What problem in the real world do I feel responsible for? And how is my work helping society deal with it? And that applies to any role you have in the university. I think if we can make that connection with each and every one of us and through our partners and stakeholders outside the university, that's where real transformation starts happening.
Okay, Imran, thank you again for joining us on UTP Exchange. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. You've been listening to UTP Exchange, where ideas converge, UTP's official podcast. If you have enjoyed this episode, do follow the series and share it with your network.